Good afternoon. Welcome to Good Guys Sports. I'm Jackson Gerke, alongside with my co-hosts Blake Lumberger and Mike Roby. Be sure to check us out on YouTube Studios and our new channel. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe whenever you can. That'll be great. Let's talk sports. So let's start off with our first topic, and that is the NFC Championship game, where I'm standing at right now, virtually, even though me and Uncle Mike and Blake Lumber, which we were there staying at that same hotel. We were there for his conference back in December, although I wish I was, but I'm not. But let's start off with the NFC Championship game between the 49ers and the Eagles. We got players that I can pretty much name players all day that I can list up. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that, but I will anyway. We got Jalen Hurts, who has 360 and 47 yards, and then players like Miles Sanders, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, and for the 49ers, you got players like Mr. Irrelevable Brock Purdy from Iowa State, followed by Eli Mitchell and Brandon Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey. And Blake Lumberger might know this player because he played for our South Carolina Gamecocks. Deebo Samuel, who is
Debo.
That's right. He was one of their best wide receivers for our team that he played with when we were in college together. And then last week we followed that up with the tight end George Kittle, who had made this incredible catch in late in the third quarter, I think it was, or fourth it was, where the ball was tipped and then he somehow caught it like all the way down to
that was crazy.
10-yard rights, down to the 10 or 24 or yard line, whatever it was. Yeah, that was just a crazy catch, and somehow he somehow caught it in his hands, and then he made this like silly face like this, and yeah, I just tells you how great a player he is, and coming off then coming off their big win last week against Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, and Fred Warner just who was on the other side of the ball. Fred Warner and Nick Bosa just making those big plays, and that Cowboys 49ers classic since they first met back in the 1981 season when they in this incredible game called The Catch, when they actually during that time they actually let the fans get on the field during that time over at the old Candlestick Park, but they don't do that anymore at the new stadium. But from what I know, back from when they first met in those previous two matchups, I mean, it all started with Jimmy Johnson and those how about the Cowboys chants in the previous matchups, but then the 49ers players like Jerry Rice and then Bill Walsh days, I think it is, but yeah, the 49ers and Cowboys is always an instant classic. It always will be. Their rivalry has been renewed, and now they turned their attention to the Lincoln Financial Field in South Philly, just south of where I stand right now. Even though I'm not in Philly, although I wish I am, but they turned their attention on Sunday afternoon. The game will be played when the Eagles are going to be taking on a very similar slugfest heavyweight battle between the 49ers and the Eagles at the Link. Going to be a great game, and Rick Perry's got to deal with this really crazy Philly crowd, and it's got to get used to got to limit the plays and just try to take one play at a time to try to quiet that crowd in Philly. Good luck with that, but it's just a lot to ask for. But your thoughts as I start us off with our game here as I broadcast to you live from virtual Philly.
So, Jack, I'm going to go a little old school since, football is all about who blocks and tackles best. You look at the Eagles' offensive line. Some polls, they have the Eagles, the best offensive line in the league, and some polls have them as the number 2 offensive line. I'm going to go for the team with the best offensive line, and I think in this matchup, it is the Eagles. 49ers offensive line is ranked 9th. It's going to be a close game because the 49ers defensive front seven is ranked number 2 in the league. The Niners have got an awesome defense, but I think the Eagles' offensive line is going to carry the day. And that's my prediction. Eagles by 7.
Yeah, that's some good analysis there. I think the people kind of forget about how important the lines are, right? Everybody's too worried about the quarterbacks and the running backs and receivers. Meanwhile, the Eagles on both fronts have some big boys they'll push you around, don't they, Jack? So I think it's a good point from Uncle Mike. I think both teams are really physical as well. 49ers definitely are a physical front as well. So that could make it a low scoring kind of slugfest, like you said, right, Jack?
Yeah, this game's going to come down to the line of scrimmage because I think both teams are very similar of how they're built. I mean, you got Kyle Shanahan and then Brock Purdy going up against Jalen Hurts and then Nick Sirianni, and those guys are built to win. And I think it's going to be just similar, like close game, game planning. I feel like it's going to come down to the last play, the way I see it, and whoever wins this game will end up going to the Super Bowl. That's how I see it.
I agree. The Eagles defensive front 4 is ranked number 4 in the league. So I think the 49ers offensive line are going to have their hands full. As long as they can stop the 49ers running game and put some pressure on Purdy, it's going to be a long day for the 49ers.
Yeah, I don't think Purdy has seen a defense quite as difficult as this Eagles one so far. I know Dallas is a good defense.
Yeah.
And then who they played? They played Seattle or whatever in the wild card round. But I think for a rookie quarterback going into Philadelphia, going cross country to a very Uncle Mike knows it's not a very welcoming atmosphere.
A hostile environment for sure,
to say the least. So yeah, that's definitely going to be a big challenge for a rookie quarterback. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree with what Blake said. I think that's the biggest thing. Last week I picked against the rookies, and it played out pretty well. This week again, I'm going to pick against the rookies, and we found out that you need more than just a great running back. With the Giants, you need a quarterback too. That's been there and done that. So I'm going to go against the rookies, and I'm going to go with the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. That's a good point about the stadium too, man. Those guys, yeah. When you throw snowballs at Santa Claus, you got some rowdy fans. So the Eagles, I'm going to take the Eagles.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm Eagles all the way as well. Are you picking the Eagles, Jack?
Yeah, I think I've got them the last play, the last try of the game, come down to the fourth quarter. Whoever has the ball, if the Eagles have it, I think they'll find a way to win. But it will be a close one.
Yeah, I definitely think the 49ers will keep it close. Probably low scoring, close game kind of thing, right?
Yeah. It's going to be that kind of game to watch. I can't wait to see it.
So who do you have in the Bengals Chiefs?
All right. Yes. The Bengals and Chiefs. Yes. Let's move on now to the AFC Championship game. We have got Joe Burrow against Patrick Mahomes and one of his guys, Isaiah Pacheco, against Travis Kelce and Juju Smith-Schuster, and one of them against the Bengals team that shows no quit and definitely like to show up and has beaten Patrick Mahomes 3 times in a row. And this is going to be some kind of a game, but I mean, the Bengals do like to put points on the board. It's just, but I mean, Joe Mixon and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and the rest of those guys for the Bengals know how to step it up and know what they can do downfield. But for the Kansas City side, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a big game, and I think that I think that Patrick Mahomes will finally beat the Chiefs, and he'll beat them on a fourth quarter game winning drive in fourth quarter, and I think Chiefs will finally beat the Bengals and go to the Super Bowl, and I'm winning in the final score of I'm going to say it's a 31-27 final score. Chiefs win.
So Jack, I'm going to have to go with the offensive line again on this one. Just looking at it, the Chiefs' offensive line is rated better than the Bengals, but last week's game against the Bills didn't touch Burrow at all. I mean, Zippo pressure. The Bengals offensive line does that again. I would say the score is right, 31-27, but I got the Bengals on top.
Ooh.
And as a side note, the Bengals center, Ted Karras, his great uncle was Alex Karras. Played for the Detroit Lions and the Blazing Saddles movie fame.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
So
very cool.
You know,
They
got both teams have got some huge horses. Every single offensive lineman in this game is well above 300 pounds. But I don't know. I have to pick the away team on this one. I think the Bengals.
Yeah,
I'm kind of leaning with Uncle Mike. I think the Bengals, Joe Burrow played so well last week that and the fact that Mahomes is a bit banged up. I mean, I don't know if we know the latest injury status on Mahomes. I know he said that he was ready to go, right? But I mean,
yeah, he is.
I think he was always going to play, but if he's a little bit hobbled and Joe Burrow is feeling as confident as ever, I'm kind of inclined to go with the hot hand and actually pick the Bengals in a close one. That's kind of what I'm leaning right now.
I'll tell you what, until Blake reminded me about Mahomes' injury, I completely forgot about that. I'm switching my pick right here. I think Mahomes is going to watch Byron Leftwich Marshall videos and get his lineman to learn how to bring him up to the line if he breaks that ankle and stays in the game. But because of that, I'm going with Joe Burrow. Even though they're going into Arrowhead and it's a loud place. I don't think they're as nasty as the Philly fans, but they sure are loud. I'm gonna go with the crowd. I'm gonna go with Joe Burrow.
It's all going to be a matter if the Chiefs can put some pressure.
Yeah.
If the Chiefs don't put any pressure on them and the offensive line for the Bengals does what they did last week, that's why I'm picking. And plus the high ankle sprain on Mahomes. I don't think he's going to be as mobile as he would be at 100%. And I mean, he's young and healthy and all those accolades, but coming off of a high ankle sprain after a week, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's not a small injury. I mean, it's a pretty serious thing, a high ankle sprain from what I can tell. I don't think it's something that you can just, put some ice on it and then you're back out there. I mean, he's going to play, but like you said, if he's not going to be able to like scramble out of the pocket, and if the Bengals put some pressure on him, then that could be trouble for the KC offense.
One of the things the Bengals did last week against the Bills is all their defensive stunts. I mean, they were changing the stunts right before the ball was snapped.
Yeah.
Some of their defensive ends were backing up into coverage while their safeties were blitzing and full. I mean, they had the Bills completely buffaloed in some cases.
They definitely caught them off guard, didn't they, last week? It seems like in every sense.
So, it's gonna be a close game, but I'll stick with the 31-27 score. But I got the Bengals on top.
Yeah.
You and me are going opposite between the same scores.
Yeah, I
There's-
think you're the only person picking the Chiefs, Jack. It's kind of
Yeah.
surprising, huh?
I am.
He may be
because
the only
Patrick
one
Mahomes
right.
Is trying to be like that Steph
Probably.
Curry, but in football. That's why I'm
Okay.
taking them, and plus they're playing in the hostile environment for the crowd and the Chiefs. And
So your rationale is never pick against Mahomes at home in the playoffs, which is not a bad way of thinking, right?
it really isn't. Plus, Blake Lumber actually knows someone that actually played for the Chiefs, so that does tell me why I'm taking them.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, it's like you said, it's going to be a toss up for sure. I think both games, obviously, if you've gotten this far, it's two really good teams. So
It's going to be must see. That's for sure.
yeah, this one will be probably a lot higher scoring than the NFC game, I would imagine as well.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think Blake Lumber's traveling somewhere, so he's just having trouble with his audio. So we'll try to get that fixed.
Yeah.
No, I
Pick
got
up
you,
wherever
Jack.
we
I'm
can.
here. I'm right here. You're right.
Yeah.
Malcolm Jackson. Yeah, he was with the Chiefs until he got Moss in the preseason, and he would have gotten a ring. He would have been there and gotten a national ring, and now he works for Chick-fil-A. How things change.
Yeah. So an interesting trivia fact about the Niners this year. I was reading something earlier this week that said that the 49ers opponent, the very next game after playing the 49ers, they all lost. So the Niners, are so physical in their game against their opponents. So I'm just bringing that up because I
Interesting.
think the Eagles and the Niners, that's going to be a slugfest.
Yeah,
Both teams. I mean, it's just
they're lucky they have a week off after, right? For the Super Bowl.
they're lucky they're going to have a week off.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I imagine it will be pretty cold in Philadelphia on Sunday, right?
Yeah. Well,
So-
you just have to run faster. That's all.
That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I mean, I know there's not games up there, but if I had to, but believe it or not, if I had to check the weather for the game time for the Philadelphia area on Sunday,
It's like Sunday afternoon, right?
Sunday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, it's going to be about 50 degrees. I think prior to kickoff up there, so it's going to be like
Oh,
cloudy.
it's balmy. They'll be in shorts.
Yeah. How crazy would that be how crazy would that be if you were a player like doing like a workout and just when you're up in the game time, just doing like if you're a professional player, like in those kind of clothes you just said, like who does that? Who does it?
Yeah, that's not bad actually. Yeah, I thought it'd be worse. It's actually not bad.
Well, nobody in the stands are going to be sitting down. They're all going to be standing up and cheering.
It's gonna be rowdy for sure, isn't it?
I understand that, but
So what? So Jack's picking Chiefs.
He's picking Chiefs, Eagles.
Super Bowl. I'm picking Bengals, Eagles. I think all of us.
Yeah.
I think we're all picking Bengals, Eagles, right?
But
Yeah.
in Kansas City, it's going to be like 29 degrees, and I think they're going to be calling for snow flurries there. So there's a difference. That is not weather where you want to wear your short sleeves shorts in. Not
didn't stop
in those conditions.
Joe Burrow last week did it. The snow.
No.
Especially in Buffalo. But
Where's the Super Bowl this year?
it is in Glendale, Arizona.
Okay,
So, no
nice.
weather factor there.
Yeah, indoor. Okay.
Yep. So before I move on and try to recap here, so go back to last week where you had the Bills and the Chiefs. I'm sorry, Bills and the Bengals were in Buffalo prior to this game, but before that, if the Bills were to win and the Chiefs were to well, the Chiefs won last week, but if the Bills were were to win last week, the game would actually take place at a neutral site
in Atlanta.
in Atlanta, which I heard about Jamar Chase just asking for refunds, and with the idea of the neutral site game in Atlanta for those taking place for the AFC Conference Championship game has become, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. And with the idea, like, why would you even consider it? Like, it's just becoming a bit ridiculous for me for this kind of idea. So, like, well, luckily Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and the rest of the Bengals players were asking for refunds, and I think that's a good thing, and I think they should keep doing it. And and thank goodness they're not playing this game there. Otherwise, it will not be good for the league. But at least the Bengals won, and at least they're going to Arrowhead this time. So at least we get all at least we got all of that sorted out.
Yeah, so I think the Bengals were a little bit extra motivated because they felt as though the NFL was already preparing for a Chiefs-Bills AFC championship game. The fact that they scheduled it at a neutral venue, they felt a bit disrespected, like people were overlooking them, and were penciling in the Kansas City versus Buffalo in the AFC title game. So it ended up backfiring on Buffalo because it gave Joe Burrow and the Bengals a little bit extra motivation in that game. So that was interesting scheduling information. You're right, Jack. I think the NFL probably would have liked to have that one back in retrospect and only waited to announce that if they needed to. The fact that I guess you have to announce it earlier for logistics and like tickets and stuff like that. But I think in retrospect, they probably would have liked to not announce a neutral venue for a game that might not even happen, you know?
That was an oops.
That was an ups for sure. The last thing you want to do is give Joe Burrow extra motivation. Joe Cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least with the Chiefs and the Bengals, you got two of the best quarterbacks in the AFC going head to head.
Yeah, the AFC is stacked with quarterbacks, huh?
Yeah.
It's tough conference to be a quarterback, because you got Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, you got Herbert in LA. Who else? You got maybe those are the top, but that's a pretty good top four there, to be fair, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So before I move on to my next topic, I do want to get a shout out that I actually won the fantasy football championship. So
yes, sir.
Just wanted to clarify that. Just wanted to, because I was texting Blake Blomberg and Uncle Mike that earlier, and
well, you trying to rub it in that I lost?
Yeah,
well, of course.
I'm just kidding. I think I finished last, so you're definitely right to rub it in this year.
Yeah, I just wanted to share the audience.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Just wanted to share the audience. For me, so that I can just thank you. Just want to know that I had a great season, and I have accomplished what I have lived for from my victory that I have accomplished so far. It wasn't easy. It was a very tough opponent that I played against, and you know how these things go in these kind of leagues. And obviously for us playing in these leagues, they're always hard to win. So you're not always going to, it's not always going to come your way, but it's always going to, but I was just this lucky enough to get one, and I just can't really put it into words and what I have to say, what else to say. But it was just a very deserving victory for me. All right. so-
Yeah, it was. We're very, very proud of the great season you had.
Yes. Now-
But I'm coming for you next year. Okay.
Oh, I'll be prepared. I'll be prepared for that because I wish I had that trophy for forever, but I'm not going to. But
You try and go back to back.
well, no, I didn't say I didn't
It's-
say I was,
It's
but
difficult.
there. Oh, it's very hard.
Well, you
Very
know, as
hard.
the reigning champion, people are coming for your head. Coming for the
I
champ.
hear you. That's what. Yeah, that's why it's not. That's why I can't keep a thing forever because you have to pass it along to the next person who's going to win the next season. That's how it goes sometimes.
Definitely.
That's just
Yeah,
part. That's just how it
definitely
works.
not going to
And,
be. Definitely not going to be dad. We know that.
right.
Jackson, was this? I mean, that trophy. We can't be breaking trophies. Was this a handoff by Blake, or did this thing make it in the mail via FedEx with a lot of bubble wrap around it?
It was shipped by a package by
Ooh.
someone special to me, and I think my dad gave it to me, and I just think that's how I just think that's how I actually got my trophy.
Yeah, it's a nice trophy as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very special, very
Nice piece of hardware.
special. One of the players that I actually had on my team this year is a guy named Brian Robinson, which I hear his inspiring story because he was shot in the back and he was in prison, but he got a special visit from Ron Rivera, and then I was just stood by it, and but then he never gave up, and but then I've heard this all over the local news in DC that he was a player that never gave up whatever he accomplished on and off the field, and he's one of those like players that was like just would never show quit and never give up himself, and whenever he was released from prison, he was the fans gave a standing ovation to the player, and I just think for the crowd for the Commanders home game, and I was just stood and very inspired and so emotional once he was back on the team, and I just can't really I mean I just can't really thank him enough for what he has gone through and how special a player he is. And Uncle Mike, I'm sure you know all about him, and what did you make of it from what he had for a player as he had the season so far, and your reaction, and tell me about his for like his timeline and what he's gone through. And
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard of him. You tell me what it's like, and how he has lived through and gone by for his entire playing career, and tell me your thoughts on how he from his recovery, and tell me how he and tell me your thoughts for this player from this past season.
Well, I'm just trying to get over the shock that you actually had a Commanders player on your fantasy league. That's
It's
awesome.
a big shock.
I had a couple actually, so yeah, I was just lucky enough that I have a couple actually, but yes,
Yeah.
Brian Robinson Jr. was a very special player, and he was I've heard all about him, and he was definitely a player for you, and for you Commanders fans up there, and that's who he was, and what he was
Yeah.
from what
I mean, it's very interesting. The Commanders they've got a few pockets of really good talent. I mean, they're on the verge of potentially being a good team. Robinson's he's certainly a pivotal part of the team. As long as we can get a new owner, we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, hopefully things will be headed in the right direction for your team, but I'm definitely hoping, and things will head for you whatever things all get all sorted
Yeah.
out. But
I'm just glad we beat the Cowboys at home.
yeah, I know that week 17 or 18 season finale,
Small
whatever it
victories.
was. Yeah,
That's
that was
that's
a
all
great way to,
that's all we hope for in DC when it comes to football.
yeah, well, that's a great way to finish off your season right there, for beating the beating those Big D Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah, great way to recap your season to finish it off.
What a crazy head scratcher the Cowboys are. You got, America's team, the world's team, the money, the fame, the publicity, and
And Jerry
with all
Jones.
that, and Jerry Jones, and I guess money doesn't buy happiness or Super Bowls. I don't know what's going on with all of that.
It
Well,
seems like they just can't get over the hump to get to they can't even make it to the NFC Championship game for whatever reason.
Well, I know some of the
Yeah.
fans are fed up with Prescott.
I was gonna say is it time for is it time for a new quarterback? I mean that'd be a bold move.
I heard Tom Brady's available.
Yeah. God, I mean,
That'd
you're
be
talking about
crazy.
America's team, then you put Tom Brady on it. Goodness.
There you go.
That sounds like a social experiment.
Yeah, well, I got that new movie, 80 for Brady.
There you go. Yeah. I think the Cowboys have just been like good enough to make it to win like one playoff game, but not good enough to really like be a serious team for so long. And when you get stuck in that kind of in between, I guess it's kind of where the Commanders have been for a while too, right? Where you just
Yeah.
kind of like you're not bad enough to where you can like rebuild and draft like a Trevor Lawrence or something, but
Mhm.
because the Cowboys can never really like win like 2 games and get a quarterback, right? So
There's this stuck in mediocrity.
seems like it, yeah. So we'll see if they make any. Maybe Sean Payton's on the market, I guess, for coaches as well. We'll see if they make It could be making a coaching change, perhaps, and keeping Prescott. So I don't know. We'll see.
I was
Jack,
teasing them.
did you see the Panthers got a new coach announced today as well? I don't know if Blake Lineberger and Jackson saw that the Panthers
Yes,
correspondence. But
yes. Frank
I did
Reich,
not
the
know
former
that.
Colts head coach, has announced today, just about a few hours ago, introduced as the new head coach of the Panthers. Obviously, I do want to get Blake Lumber's take on this, and want to ask you if this was the right hire or the wrong hire, or should they went to Sean Payton as their home run guy. But I don't know. I feel like the Panthers just didn't make the right coaching hire. You're from there, Blake, and you tell me anything if the Panthers should do better on the coaching hire, and is this the wrong guy for the Panthers for this job? You tell me
Well,
it
they
is
say-
not.
And you know what they're saying in the Queen City, Jackson? There's nothing wrong with Frank Wright. ... Unless you could have got Sean Payton. So I don't know. I think if they
I'm
could have got
saying.
Sean Payton, I think they would have done whatever. I mean, you'd be crazy not to take Sean Payton. To be completely honest, never heard of Frank Wright. That should tell you something. But I don't know these days. I mean, what's a NFL head coach these days anywhere? Are they turning into more of the NBA head coach, or are they there to how much power do they have? How much over draft picks? I don't know. So the Panthers, Charlotte's been cursed. Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I think we lost you for a second, Blake, but I think the Panthers and
the Hornets. I mean, what have they done since he's been there, except make terrible
Sounds like he's underwater.
Yeah, I
draft
think-
picks and
He's
all
getting
that.
a
It
bad
looks like
sell.
a great city. It's little Wall Street of the South. Let's go.
Wasn't Frank Reich the very first quarterback for the Panthers?
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
guess he was kind of like a journeyman quarterback, and he was their starter when they first got the team in the 90s, and then I think he was the coach for the Colts for a couple of years, and they were
Yeah.
kind of like okay, kind of like around 500, and then he got fired, I think, earlier this year, I believe. So I guess maybe the plan, he's like an offensive quarterbacks kind of coach. So I would
Mhm.
assume they'll bring in a new quarterback this year. I don't think they're gonna or next year. I mean, I don't think they're gonna roll with Sam Darnold and whoever else they have. So I think that they have a high draft pick, right? So they'll probably draft somebody. But
Mhm.
yeah, we'll see. It's interesting hire. I guess Sean Payton's on the market, so we'll see. Maybe Denver might look at him, and Denver, Dallas maybe we'll get a new coach. Houston maybe looking for a coach as well, so we'll see.
Yeah, back to Blake's point on the like from like the audio that he broke up a while back, but I think what he said is like with the Queen City of Charlotte and I mean Michael Jordan and the Horns just trying to like for how much of a culture he built there, but I think Frank Wright just I don't know it might be the right hire for different people, but it's not for everyone. But I don't know, maybe Sean Payton would have been the better hire, but I feel like the Panthers just got to like make the right call. But I mean, they have no choice but to hire him anyway. But maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm not with the organization, but I feel like maybe they should. But I feel like the organization might have just had no choice but to make this hire anyway. I mean, they had no choice but to do it anyway. So that's why they chose Frank Wright as their coach. Is probably going to be my guess.
What else you on the docket for today, Jack?
Right. So let's talk about while we have you. I mean, it's too early to talk college basketball right now, so I feel like well, I know that Duke's not doing that great in college basketball right now, but what's
So
How's
there's only one
Charleston?
team to talk about, Jack.
How's your
There's only one
Charleston
to talk
team?
about. Hey, 20-0, baby. 20.
Really?
They're still undefeated. The most wins in college basketball, longest win streak.
Wow.
They're 18th in the nation, and they said my students said they waited before the game started and did not get it. They were too late. So it's a 2 hour before the game line to get in the game right now. Pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize they were that good. Wow. Very cool.
Said they made the top 10 list as one of the coolest arenas in college basketball to watch a game in right now, or something like that. Somebody was telling me.
Oh, interesting. Is it
Wow.
a big arena or like a smaller one in Charleston?
No, it's small. I mean, it's probably 6,000, if that.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, I guess they'll be looking to make a good tournament run then come March.
Sounds
Yeah,
like Cinderella.
Well, and if they keep this up, they don't even have to win the tournament. They'll probably get an at-large and a seed.
Yeah,
If they keep
yeah.
this up, which takes a lot of pressure off.
Yeah, if they're ranked right now, then they could definitely get a high seed.
And I mean, they could continue going undefeated. I doubt they'll move much higher just because they're not playing, outside of playing North Carolina game 1 and Virginia Tech. They're not playing. Virginia Tech. Did you guys watch the game, Virginia Tech, when they knocked off Duke a couple of days ago?
I saw that. Yeah. Duke's been struggling.
That was a good game.
Yeah, Duke's not having a great year in basketball. That's why they lost to Virginia Tech.
Did you guys see the end of the game where the Duke player got punched inadvertently? The Virginia Tech player made the bucket, like 30 seconds left, turns around to celebrate, clenches his fist and punches the air. Well, instead of the air, just happened to be one of Duke's players right there and got him right in the throat and the chin. And he doubled down for a couple of minutes, and it was interesting. I thought they were going to give Duke give Virginia Tech a technical foul for it, but they did not, because I believe because it wasn't intentional, they did not give them a technical foul for it. But that could have changed the game.
Wow.
Huh. Yeah, I think Duke just dropped out of the rankings, so it's one of those weird years in college basketball where Duke and UNC are big strugglers. I don't think NC State's doing much better either. So the triangle basketball here is struggling right now.
Well, that just shows you what happens when these Goliath coaches walk away, right?
Yeah, it's all about coaching in college basketball, right?
Yes, Williams walked away and Coach K walked away, and look at the two teams. Not even the top 25. Who would have ever thought?
Yeah, it's definitely not your grandfather's Duke UNC anymore, is it?
Well, I wonder if that's, with those coaches leaving, it hurts recruitment.
Definitely. I think Duke is going to try and keep the tradition with they have the current coach Shire he played there like 20 years ago or something, and then he was been an assistant coach for a couple of years. So I assume a lot of the big colleges try and promote from within and kind of keep the traditions going. But it's it's different with college basketball now. There's a lot of competition. Some players don't even play in college anymore. So it's and then if they do, they just go for a year. So it's it's a different landscape than it was 20 years ago or whatever. It's different.
Yeah.
And on the women's side, Jackson, how about our Dawn Staley seems to be creating a dynasty down there at South Carolina. They've been number one, I think open to close so far. I believe they've been number one the whole season.
Yeah, they've never lost a game since. And yeah, South Carolina they are 8-0, tied with Tennessee and LSU. And speaking of which, the Tennessee Volunteers were taking on the UConn Huskies tonight at 8 o'clock. So that game might give you some attention for like UConn being favored in this one, and Geno Smith and then Lady Vols, and that's going to be some kind of game to watch. And then looking ahead to Saturday, we got Texas taking on Tennessee and in the men's side, followed by Kansas and Kentucky, who is struggling right now. Kentucky, that is, and Kansas is definitely Kansas is definitely on the better side of things. And then but Kentucky is not off to a great start right now for this John Calipari led team over there in Lexington. But you got to get things get things figured out. But like you said, not a great start for any of the Blue Bloods in college basketball right now. That's what I want to just want to
Anything
follow
else
up
in
with.
the schedule after that?
Yeah. So, right. So, yeah, all I know is that's going to be a long season for those college basketball teams. Who knows what happens whenever March Madness comes around, but you'll have to stay tuned for our later show to find out where those teams are going to be when we talk about brackets and March Madness basketball. But we got a long ways to go to even do some more college basketball talk. But let's go. Yeah, that's right. But you'll have to stay tuned for another week, for another month or so for that to happen. But we're going to be moving on to another topic right now. So let's move on to Blake's topic right now, Blake Gerke, that is, and we're going to be talking about some soccer. Now we're going to be talking about we're going to be talking about some Premier League soccer right now and get the latest on the standings in the Premier League in the current table right now as things stand. So as I take a look right now, we got Real Madrid free to walk on against the ATM team right now. If you saw that, which I'm sure you did. So I take a look at the tables right now. So here we go. Right now, we got Arsenal on top, followed by Manchester United and Newcastle and Man City and Tottenham. So before that, I don't know if you saw, but the Premier League had a fan fest down in Orlando at Universal Orlando Resort. So just wanted, and it was at a theme park where the weather was a little warmer than up here, and the fans were so into it. And last time we had one was up in Philadelphia, and I watched that one too. And I mean, all that I know is that they know how to put on these parties and shows wherever they go. And I think that the Premier League and the fans do a great job of that for doing this for doing this traveling event they do whenever they have their one schedule. But I thought that setup was great, and how the fans showed up, and they showed up like really early in the morning to get prepared for those days, and I think that they were all into it. And but I think the Premier League did a great job for what the teams for what the fans did, and for the teams they cheer for. And I think that and I think the idea of the Fan Fest is really just took it up a notch for just for how this for how this for how this for how this ratings it is for TV and for being there in person. I just think I just think it means a lot for what the fans really deserve for this kind of special event. And Blake, do you have any thoughts on that before I turn over to Uncle Mike and Blake Lumberger to get you this reaction to that for this Premier League soccer stuff?
Yeah, it looked like a fun little fan fest. I agree on NBC. Yeah, Premier League's been interesting this year. Arsenal looks like they're the favorites to win it right now, and that's a bit of a surprise because they I think they finished like 5th last year, so they weren't super favored coming into it, but they've done a really good job. And some teams, like the team that I root for, Liverpool, is having a bad year. They're in 9th right now. Chelsea's having a bad year. They're in 10th. So there's a few surprise teams up there, like Newcastle in 3rd is a big surprise. They've had a lot of investment and good coaching. They're having a good year. City's always up there. Got some big goal scorer in this year. United's always sneaking around the top of the standings as well. So yeah, should be a exciting end of the season. There's about halfway through the season at this point. So yeah, I think it's got the Champions League coming up as well, which I always enjoy watching. So yeah, we'll see. Should be good.
Blake, I'm kind of a newbie at soccer. When do they get relegated? How low down? The bottom 2 teams get relegated
So it's
down,
the bottom 3. So like in the Premier League, for example, there's 20 teams and the bottom 3 get relegated. And then the top 3 teams from the second division get promoted up for the following season.
Any big teams in the bottom 3 or close to the bottom 3?
Yeah. I was gonna say actually the big story right now is that Everton are in 19th. Which they've usually been historically a pretty big team. That's who like Tim Howard, the US keeper, he played for them for a while back in the day, if you remember him. But they've generally been like definitely like a top 7 or 8 team, and way back in the day they used to challenge for the title and stuff like that. But yeah, okay. They just fired their manager a couple of days ago, and they're having a bit of a tough time. So if they end up getting relegated, that'd be a big story.
Well, and then one more question: when the World Cup happened, did this league just go on pause, or did this league start after the World Cup?
Yeah. I think all the big leagues in Europe took a big break for the World Cup, which was pretty unusual because the fact that it took place in December, so a bit of a disruption there. So just that means that I think it started a bit sooner, and then we'll finish a bit later because of that. Yeah.
And one of the bigger players I think got injured, which is kind of tragic in the middle of the season. So that's, I don't know how many players got hurt, but that's quite a risk to play for free, and you get hurt for your club. So
I think quite a few players ended up getting injured just right before the World Cup, which is obviously really, really unlucky timing, right? So the fact that it was like mid-season in that sense made it a bit more difficult because you had a few players that got injured like the week before it was starting and stuff like that. So
or the ones that got injured during the World Cup, and therefore now they're hurting their team back in the season, their club.
Yeah, the fact that it's was in December was definitely a unique experience versus the prior ones for sure. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Do you have any other soccer questions, Jack?
I do. So the last Fan Fest was actually in prior to Orlando, down at Universal, was actually in Philadelphia, but was actually behind the City Hall, where
it's right behind you. I see it right there.
You do? Yeah. That's exactly where it took place. right where my finger is, right
Yeah,
there.
I think I see the two Robbies and Rebecca behind you right there.
That's exactly where it took place. And believe it or not, the next World Cup will be taking place in the U.S. It'll be taking and yes, it will be hosted in Philadelphia in the traditional, hopefully in the traditional June and July calendar month. And but who knows where me and Uncle Mike will be, but the
We'll be
20
on
know,
it.
it's
We'll be on the train
yeah,
on the way
yeah,
up.
yes, we'll be hitting on Amtrak with Blake Lumberger and Mike Roby and Uncle Steve or whoever's coming aboard with us, and it'll be a lot of fun. I can't wait to take us to wherever city we go to for this World Cup. It's going to be for this biggest sporting event in the world. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I think we're all going to have a great time together. And I don't know, maybe Brother Blake will join us, but you never know. But I think we're all in for it from whenever that time comes. I just
Get off at Market Street and Uber on down to onto the field.
there you go. There you go.
It's
I
only
like
about
good-
8
it's a-
miles from the field. No problem.
It's a
I'm
good thing
there.
they're having the World Cup in Philadelphia in the summer, because that means the fans can't throw any snowballs at the players. So
Yeah,
that's a good thing, right?
that is a good thing.
not a bad thing.
Let's just hope that the Phillies aren't playing at the same time. Otherwise, those parking lots are going to be pretty full.
Yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
like jam packed and cars parked everywhere, and you can see the people like coming and going in different sporting events to one another. And I mean, if Blake Baumberger were a part of this, or if I was, or if Mike Roby was, I can't even imagine what the scene's going to be like over there. It's going to be packed with millions of people. Would probably
Pandemonium.
be my guess.
I know what it would be like, Jackson, and your brother Blake remembers this. It would be like when we were going to Atlanta Falcons game, and Mike Roby had given us a ticket and a parking pass, and your father could not seem to find this hidden parking lot, and you were just, beside yourself on why he couldn't find it. It can't be that hard, and and we never found it, and we ended up parking at a church instead. I think that's what it's going to be like. It'll be like that experience 2.0.
Yeah, I think the old Georgia Dome was quite. I think that was. I mean, that must have been the Georgia Dome, right? That
It was.
Yeah, that parking experience down there is not ideal. It probably still isn't ideal because it's the new one's just right next to it, but it's just a nicer stadium at least. So
Mhm. That's
Yeah,
a
that's the
nice
thing about
statue of the
the-
Falcon out in front of it.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a nice little stadium. They probably have some World Cup games there too, I would imagine. But yeah, I was thinking about like all the stadium. Like I think Philadelphia is the same, where they have like all of the stadiums kind of like next to
Mhm.
each other, like the
Yep.
baseball, football, and then like the arena. And I think DC is pretty similar, right?
Well, DC is
Although the
it is
the
with
Commanders
the
are different though.
yeah, the Commanders are totally different. We're trying to get them back into DC. Where the Wizards and Capitals play is in Chinatown. But that's all on the Metro.
Yeah.
And where the Nationals Park is on the Metro.
Okay.
And maybe 2 blocks away is where Audi Field is, where
Yeah, the new
DC
soccer
United.
stadium. Yeah, I've heard good
Play.
things.
That's a upcoming area of town. It's
Yeah.
got a great vibe walking around Nationals Park, or to get to Nationals Park, with all of the shops and restaurants and bars opening up. It really it to me it has a similar vibe like San Diego, where the Petco Park is, in the Gaslight district of San Diego. It's got a really a nice friendly vibe to it. It's pretty cool to see something like that, happening in DC, particularly remembering what that area of town used to be like.
Yeah, it's always nice when you have those revitalized areas around
Yep.
the newer stadiums. That's kind of what they did with the Brave Stadium, although it's nowhere near downtown Atlanta. That was the only
Yeah.
that people didn't like, is that they moved them up north. But you win some, you lose some.
Yeah. As long as you lose opening day, I'll be fine.
What's the opening day? Is that it? That's in DC, the Braves National
That is
Series?
in DC.
Okay, interesting,
What's
interesting.
what's the date on opening day? April?
I want to say March 30th.
Okay.
Let me see. Look at
So about a month
calendar.
of spring ball.
Yeah, March 30th. That's when we open
Wow.
up.
Wow. Okay. Good
And
to
it's a
know.
Okay.
1 o'clock game.
So is the season going to be over by 2 o'clock then?
Probably. Probably. You know, we're Nationals will be in first place. And it'll all be downhill once the national anthem is played.
Could be one of those years. Yeah, you never know. You never know. There's always a surprise package in some divisions. So who knows? The Braves could have a stinker this year for all we know.
Yeah. I mean, last year we had a guy named Joey Meneses, 30-year-old rookie came up in August, and he was just hitting the cover off the ball.
Mhm.
And it'll be fun to see if that was a fluke or not. If it was not, he's going to be fun to watch. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it, though.
Exciting prospects for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? So right, that should be a lot of fun. It's going to be some like NL East rivals that don't like each other between one team to another, and the Braves fans and Nationals fans. Although the Braves might have a bit of a crowd advantage over your Nationals, unfortunately, for those first 2 days of opening day and that week in that part. So you're going to have to get used to those Braves Rebels fans out there.
Braves country.
As
It's
long
taking
as
over
we
Nats
can
Park.
as long as we can stop the tomahawk chop, we'll be in good shape.
And
But
they
I
do
want to
that-
give it. I know we only got a few more minutes left, but let me
Yeah.
give a shout out to the Wizards.
Oh,
The Washington Wizards have won 5 in a row.
wow.
Yeah,
I'm
last
not gonna
time
lie, I completely forgot that DC had a basketball team.
Well, so did
My
a lot of
apologies.
people.
So did a lot of
So
people.
they're half game out of the 10 spot right now. it looks
Yeah.
Where do they play? Where do the
We
Wizards
play
play?
at the Capitol Arena, which is in
in Chinatown.
on
Okay.
top of the Metro Center.
Oh, so interesting. Okay. I don't think
Yeah,
I
it's
ever
a
went there when I
great
was in
it's a
DC.
great area town. I mean, it is like Washington's version of Times Square.
Oh wow, cool. I completely forgot that. I never went there
Yeah.
when I was in DC. It's the one I never went to.
Mm-hmm. It's got an interesting vibe. It's a fun area of town. But I just figured, they just had a trade with the Lakers, and they got a guard from the Lakers, none.
So you would rather see the Wiz fight it out for like a play-in spot versus like trying to get a high draft pick then?
Well, it'd probably be better with a high draft pick, but we're so used to not having
Yeah.
a basketball team.
Yeah, I guess, at a certain point you just kind of have to start winning games, I mean,
Yeah. Well, Wes Unseld Jr. is their coach. So there is there's a family tie to the old Bullets days. And I hope he continues to do well and turns the team around. But anyway, I just throw in some hometown news.
yeah, it's a little DC roundup for you there.
That's all I got from the local DC.
From the local DC headlines from none other than Uncle Mike Roby. and before we let you get ourselves out of here, back to your point here, before we get ourselves out of here, is that you mentioned about the Bulls. There were a lot of shootings happening in that part of town back in the day when they were called that because they changed the name to the Wizards. Well, it makes a lot of sense because I'm glad they made that change to Wizards, because it was definitely the right decision and smart thing to do. I think that give all the Wizards ownership and their and this organization and this franchise and GM a lot of credit for what they do for this change. That's all I got to say about that. Which does really help. So real quick, Uncle Mike, before I let you guys get out of here. So you mentioned about going to national game that you guys go to every Sunday, especially for the special one at opening day on March 31st. I've got to talk about Fred Nats real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think Uncle Mike. I don't think Blake Weimer is going to make it for this trip, but that's okay. He'll probably we'll probably send the photos to him anyway. But on the 6th through the 10th of June, they are going to be hosting the. They're going to be hosting the Charleston River Dogs that week of June. So just want to get your thoughts and reaction to this to the 2023 Fred Nats schedule, and get your reaction to those upcoming dates for the Fred Nats.
Well, if you're going to be in town, we're going. I love the name River Dogs. How could you not like the names of some of these minor league teams? I mean, that's just fun,
isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Blake Weimer can hear us, but the River Dogs, they are a fun name to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Blake Weimer has left us, but I hope he's still with us. But he's probably driving. But if Blake Weimer can still hear us.
Oh, I'm here. Sorry, I'm a Chick-fil-A and a sandwich. The River Dogs. What'd you say about the River Dogs? Bill Murray's team?
They're going to be traveling to the Fred Nats between the 6th of June and the 10th of June. I mean, you don't have to come, but but if you have kids like your wife does or your family, they have like a family like play area there. I mean, because I've been in that ballpark before about me and Uncle Mike as a whole family one time last year, and they got a lot of fun stuff to do there. So
Oh, that's awesome.
I highly recommend it if you make it up there with you and your family.
Maybe I'll ride up with Bill Murray. How about that?
There you go.
I love that. I like the sound of that. There we go. That is I love
bring a baby Ruth.
There we go.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. It's a 6 o'clock hour. Great to hear from you guys. Blake Gerke, Blake Weinberger, Uncle Mike, great to talk to you. Hopefully we'll see you next week, and we'll be talking about the Super Bowl. Whoever advances, I can't wait. I can't wait to talk about that for next week's show. Great to talk to you guys. We'll see you, Blake. Blake Gerke. We'll see you next time whenever we have you on the next show. Great to hear from you guys, and we will talk to you next week. And you have a good rest of your night, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, Jackson.
Thanks for having me on, Jack.
All right, you're welcome, Blake. You're welcome, Mike.
All righty.
All right. See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. Wait, Jackson Gerke from Guy Sports signing off.
Woo!